Just a couple minutes after 7, we'll get started, and I know that there will be other people who will join in. And we are recording this, so we will be able to share it with anybody who wants to chime in afterwards. And Brad, I'm going to make you presenter very soon. But what I just wanted to do was just introduce you and talk a little bit about how we met. So I think it was just over a year ago at the last Aussie Outlook conference, and we may have met somewhere just before that, but I think at that one I remember my friend Stefan was interested in doing the auctions and learning more, and I was like, Stefan, he's got to go and learn how to do this stuff. So when Stefan went, I saw lots of pictures on Facebook and heard about some of the auction stories. And so I think it's great that you are finding amazing opportunities, especially for those of us who live in these really expensive markets like Victoria and Vancouver and Toronto. And I'm not going to give away too much, but I know that you have found some incredible deals that kind of make your head go, what? And I know you're going to tell us a little bit about that. And yeah, we're figuring out how we're going to work together and share more of this great information and get some of the ladies down there for the auction. So thank you for doing the webinar, and thanks for sharing this great information and for offering us a great deal for the auction trip. And I'm going to make you presenter so that you can take it away and you can have some fun running us through this fun stuff here. So let me just shift over here and make Brad the presenter. And Brad is going to take us through his slides and give us an awesome taste of what the auctions and the tax liens are about. So here we go. Take it away, Brad Norman. You have power momentarily.
I have power, yeah?
You have the power. There you go.
All right. Can everyone see that?
We can, and we can see, you might, there you go. You might just want to go to present mode. Perfect. Bingo.
Is that okay with everyone?
Yep, looks great.
All right, well, thanks for having me tonight. I'm looking forward to showing you guys about the wonderful world of US government tax auctions and how I got involved in the auction scene and a bit about how I got involved in real estate. Some of you might know me and some of you may have seen me before, but I'm fortunate to be a full-time real estate investor. Been involved in real estate for about 20 years, and yeah, I love it. Basically, it started off as a hobby, and I got addicted to it, and that's how it is. But I didn't start out to be a full-time real estate investor. I started out as a normal business owner. I had a small business. It was an electrical contracting business. I don't know if can you see that still, Liz? Okay.
Yep. Looks good.
Oh yeah, so basically I had a business, I had it from home, and I was installing burglar alarms and security cameras and stuff like that. And I kind of outgrown my home office this was back in England, and I decided that I needed to find some space, like a small warehouse or something where I could grow my business. So me and my dad looked around, and we found this old dumpy warehouse on the left-hand side. It was what we looked for. It was a distressed seller. He'd found a new wife in Romania. He wanted to sell up his business and go to Romania. So we bought this building, me and my dad, and when we got the paperwork through, we looked at the deed and it said Unit 13 and Unit 16. We were like, well, that's weird. I thought I just bought Unit 13. And we found out that it was actually originally two units, and the previous owner had not taken the wall down and made it one unit. So we thought about it and thought, do you know what? I don't need all that space. Why don't we put a wall up in the middle? Oh, I'm going to the next one. Sorry. I've got a technical issue here. Oh.
There you go.
Whoa. Why is that doing that? It's going all over the place.
Jumped ahead?
Oh, it's taken over the world. There you go. It just went off on one then. I was like, what are you doing?
That's okay. These things happen sometimes. Technicalities, we have to just say, okay, this is all part of the fun.
So I was like, oh yeah, so we bought this warehouse. We realized it was actually two units. So me and my dad, we put a wall up. As you can see, we put a wall up in the middle. We did our side up really nice. And then the other side, it was a warehouse. We just painted the walls white and painted the floor grey. And then I went to just a real estate agent. I said, look, I've got this warehouse. I want to rent it. I've got my business next door. don't really want to be involved in it really, just find me a tenant. Now at the time, my mortgage on this building was about 650 UK pounds, and the agent said, oh, I've got a tenant, he wants a 5-year triple net lease, and he's willing to pay £850 a month. And I was like, hang on a minute, triple net, what's that? He goes, oh, he wants to pay, he's going to spend $20,000 renovating it, he's going to do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and you're going to collect $850 a month. And I was like, hang on a minute, my mortgage is 650, I'm now getting 850, I've got this whole thing for nothing. And I kind of just fell into the real estate business like that. And then I remember I had this little saving account, and my rent went in there, and I didn't really touch it. And then I kind of got addicted to it. So basically, the unit next door came up for sale, so I bought that. And then I started going to the auctions in England, and I was going around to all these auctions in London, and I was buying like dumpy old houses like this on the left at auctions, you know, fixing them up, refinancing them, renting them out. And I was like going to the auctions every month. So it was a hobby on the side of my main business. And it got to the point where I had business cards made up, and it had on them, if it smells a wee, think of me. And I'd give it out to everyone. And everyone laughed, and everyone went, Brad, I've got a real stinky one here. It's like, you know, it stinks of WREN and there's trash outside. I said, yeah, I'll take it. And I'd go to the auction, bid on it, and buy it. And just loved it. I love buying these stinky old houses and fixing them up as a hobby. But so my real estate business was taken off on the side, but my traditional small business was becoming a struggle. I had a big turnover, but I had a lot of staff. I had about 30 staff. I had people stealing from me. I had a couple of companies went bankrupt on me, and I was kind of on the emotional roller coaster of an entrepreneur. It was a nightmare. And I remember I sat down with my accountant one year, and he went, Brad, you got this security company with all these staff. It turns over all this money, you're taking a very small amount of profit out for yourself because all your overheads. And on the side, you've built this little portfolio of about 28 properties, and you've got all this cash in the bank, and you're not touching it. And I was like, yeah, hang on a minute, I'm in the wrong business. I'm putting, you know, the 28 rule that everyone talks about. All my income's from this small real estate business that I've built up, and all my efforts go on to be a security company. So I sold that business. And then I started going to more auctions because I had cash, and I was buying big old warehouses like this, and then I was cutting them up, making them smaller warehouses and renting them out. And then I decided that I wanted to move to Canada. Canada was always a place I wanted to live because of the outdoors. So I had this big dream. I sold my company, I moved to Canada, and I was like, right, I'm going to go to Canada, I've got cash in the bank, I'm going to start going to loads of auctions, I'm going to buy loads of properties at auction, fix them up, rent them out. And then I met Aussie Jurk, and he went, yeah, we don't have auctions here. And I was like, you've blown my whole dream out of the water. So I started looking across the border, and I started looking at auctions in the US, and I came across US government tax sales and US Marshall auctions and IRS auctions and all these other auctions they have in the US. And I kind of fell in love with it. So why would I pick the US over Canada? Well, as you guys may know, there's a lot more stock in the US. The entry point to buy real estate in the US is a lot cheaper than most places in Canada. There's tons and tons of more buyers, and there's like over 1,000 banking options. And the main thing, there's lots and lots of auctions. So every month you can go to an auction and you can pick up a piece of real estate. So I kind of made my niche after about 6 months to a year going to auctions in the US, tax deeds and tax liens. And I'm going to explain a little bit about that now, that what is a tax deed and what is a tax lien. The US is kind of split in roughly 50-50. There is some odd states that work a little bit different, which I'll go through in further training. But basically what they've got is a tax lien is a state where if someone doesn't pay their property taxes for 1 year, the county will say, right, we are going to sell our first position on that property to the highest paying investor, and we'll pay that investor like 12% or 15%. And then the owner will normally redeem it, and the investor gets their money back plus a percentage. The normal term is like 1 to 3 years. It's not likely that you do get the property. You normally get an interest on your money. Most people buying these are institutional investors because they're going to say, right, I'm going to type, say, $2 million. I'm going to get anywhere from 6 to 12% of my money by buying this tax lien certificate. We don't really want to do that as investors. We want the property. So the other auctions they do have are called tax deed auctions. Now the way this works is where the county will say, do you know what, we're not going to sell the tax lien certificate, we're going to keep that in-house, and we're going to write to the owner for 3 years trying to get the money out of them. And after 3 years, they say, right, that's it. This owner owes us, say, $10,000 or $5,000 in back taxes. And they write to everyone on title, like the bank mortgage companies, anyone else who's got an interest in that property on title, they'll write to them and say, this property owes us $5,000. If it's not paid by, say, the 6th of December, it's going to go to auction. It's going to sell to the highest bidder. And because the US has first charge over everyone's property in the US, if you buy that property at auction, it wipes out the mortgage and all the other liens on the property. It has the first priority. So you can go to an auction literally and you can pick up a property for the back taxes, say $6,000.
And just to interrupt you for a sec, Brad, it's not like these people are losing their houses in like 1 or 2 months. I mean, people who they have lots of back taxes. The banks have tried to, help them along the way, or they've had lots of opportunity to try to catch up on their taxes, and they've been behind for probably at least
3 years.
A year, if I'm hearing you right.
Yeah,
so up to 3 years.
Up to on a tax deed, it's about 3 years. Yeah. So most of these houses you're going to find, to be honest, what I found in my experience in the last like 6 years, they're normally abandoned houses. So unfortunately, it's normally someone's grandparents have passed away, and they've either got no children or they've got no relatives that want to deal with the house. So the county will write to people on title and try and contact previous relatives and stuff. So they do their best they can to let people know. But after 3 years, they want to get the property back on the tax roll. It's become a nuisance. You've probably had people break in and stuff like that. So normally that's what it is. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
That's right. Now, the one thing you can't get on these properties at the end of it is, in America, to get a mortgage, you need to have a title insurance. And what the title insurance companies don't believe in the US is that the county has done the foreclosure noticing properly. So the simplicity of it is, if you do win at a tax deed auction, you have to go to a lawyer and you have to do a thing called a quiet title action. And that is where they will actually look at the paperwork, make sure that the noticing was done correctly in the foreclosure, and then they kind of underwrite under their insurance that this property has been foreclosed on correctly and now it can get title insurance. So that's one thing you need to know. If you buy a property from an auction, a tax deed auction, you can't just go and sell it straight away. You normally have to wait about 30 to 35 days before you can do that.
Okay, so you're not gonna wholesale it quickly. You're going to hold on to it for a little bit.
Yeah, you're gonna hold on to it for a little bit. I mean, if you've got someone who's experienced at this kind of business, they might say, do you know what, you can sign it over to me and let me deal with that. But I've never really had that. Most people want title insurance to make sure that they're not going to lose the property. Also, one thing you need to know is that these auctions, you don't get any time to pay. So they want paying on the same day. Yeah. So when you go there, you need to make sure that you know how they want their payment. Most of the times they're going to want cashier's checks. So you go to the auction and you say, you know what, I'm going to spend $20,000 today. So you go to the auction and say, with a 10 and 2 5s made out to the county treasurer, a cashier's check. And then at the auction, you give them the money, and if you pay over, they will send you a check back. But they want cashier's checks on the day before you leave the auction house. That's how it normally works with the tax sales.
And just again, so that we heard you right, you're going to check. You're going to the auctions with 5s and 10s, like $5,000 and $10,000.
Yeah, it's really backwards.
Essentially walking away with properties for that much money.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy, right?
And I'll show you some examples, even less sometimes. So depending on what state you're working in, it's crazy. Like when I put it this way, the first year I did it, Liza, I was like a kid in a sweet shop, and I bought 50 properties, and I didn't know what to do with them. I was just going to auctions. I was going, $500, I'll take it. $1,000, I'll take it. And I'd come back to Vancouver going, I bought 15 houses.
It's funny. I mean, as a comparison, when I bought my duplex in Victoria, I bought this crazy half duplex, and my half was 6 bedrooms and the other half was 6 bedrooms. It was a massive duplex. And as you say, auctions and foreclosures are pretty rare in Canada, but the front duplex was on foreclosure, and the foreclosure price was $425,000.
Wow. Yeah, it's a different
deal. That was a deal, right? And so we're talking like, wow. I'm looking forward to hearing some of those deals that you found that are we can't even compare them to Canada.
You can't. No, I mean,
No.
and obviously I'm from England as well, so originally from England before I moved to Canada. So the prices there are pretty crazy as well. I mean, I go to auctions sometimes and pick up like fairly cheap properties in like the hood or the rough areas, but nothing like the prices you can get in these
Yeah.
US government tax sales. Um, so
Amazing.
what you need to look for at these auctions. So this is something I've just learned over the years. You want to buy the worst house on the road. So you're looking for the old person that's unfortunately passed away and no one's dealt with the house. Sometimes you go to these auctions and you drive down the road and there'll be 5 or 6 boarded up houses. Obviously, you don't want to buy down that road. There's an issue down that road. I mean, I know people that buy them houses and they sit them for 2 or 3 years, but it's not my thing really. The other option is I like buying large warehouses that I can split up. So like I showed you earlier, I buy a big old warehouse, and then if I can convert it into 10 units, that's something I like doing. I like mixing it up. I always found that with commercial real estate, it's far better cash flow because it's triple net. The tenants pay all the bills, so as long as the roof's okay, you're pretty much getting what you charge them. There's no deductions like leaky toilets and stuff like that. But it's never going to go up in value as much as a residential property would do. So I like to mix it up a bit between commercial and residential, so I've got a happy balance.
Yeah.
I like land that can be developed. So one thing you can look at the tax sales, you'll always get lots of land at the tax sales. So what you can do is say, right, you look at a map and you go, well, there's a housing development there, there's a housing development there, but there's this bit of land at the back and no one's touched it. So that could be something you could look at because you could put it for planning and then sell it on to a developer because there's already developments around the area. And obviously, what we guys like as investments is multi-family units. You know, there's companies that go bankrupt, they don't pay the taxes, and then you can get multi-family apartment buildings that need fixing up. So here's a prime example of something I've bought, and I've kept this building. This was a office building in Newport, town called Newport, Arkansas. It was a tax foreclosure deed auction. I went to the auction. That was it there on the left. No one bid against me, and I got it for $5,000. I then spent about
$5,000.
$5,000. Yeah,
Wow.
that's all. And then, as you can see on the right-hand side, I fixed it up. I made it a business center. So actually, I can talk a bit more about this story because I've got more time. So I bought it for $5,000, and then I was wondering what to do with it. I drove around the area, and I was like, yes, there's a few rundown buildings here, but I don't see any like business centers or like startup places. So I went next door and I spoke to the economic development commissioner guy, and I said, his name was John. I said, John, I've bought this building next door, and I'm looking around and I'm trying to see what I could do with it. What do you do in this town for like startups, like small businesses, like, you know, people that have a business at home and they want a cheap office space, like a hub? And he went, yeah, we ain't got nothing like that. I said, well, what about if I make that a business center? Like, there's 7 offices upstairs. I can do cheap month-to-month rentals, and then downstairs I have like just 2 retail spaces. And he went, that'd be great. He said, I can get you a grant for that, probably $15,000.
Wow.
Okay, $15,000. I'll take that. Obviously, he must have knew I just paid $5,000 for it. So like, I pretty much got the building for nothing, and I had $10,000 to spend on the windows on the roof. So that's an addition to that story I didn't talk about at Outlook. So
And
there's
I want to
that you can do.
just sort of go back a little bit too.
Yeah.
There's a few key things in there, the kinds of things that we talk about when we're talking about looking at properties, right? Doing the research, going and talking to the economic development office. I mean, I know when Joan and I went to Michigan and Illinois and Indiana, you know, a lot of the small cities that we went into and the big cities, we stopped in, we talked to the chambers of commerce, we talked to the economic development people. You know, we ask them the same kind of questions, right? Like, if we're going to buy this mobile home park, do you want this in your community? So,
That's
and then,
right.
yeah, and then they say, yeah, not only do we want it, but we're going to. So it really helps to get down there in person, go and have a look around, or work with your team so that you're look at it. So these are, you know, these are the kinds of things that kind of flow no matter what you're investing in. But it's great to just hear that you're doing
Yeah,
exactly what people are supposed to do. So
that's
awesome.
right.
Great
Well, the other
stuff.
thing, the other thing you got to think about these communities when you go to these auctions, you got to remember this building has been sitting like this, like a dumpy old building, an eyesore for about 3 years. So
Yeah.
you get someone going to the town with fresh ideas, fresh money, going to do this, that. They're all over it. They want you to come into the town. They want you to invest in the town and bring a fresh set of eyes on things. So they're willing to work for you. So that's what I like about working in some of these smaller towns as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Great story.
Um,
Love it.
So this is the good one. This makes people laugh. This is one I bought at a tax sale just in Washington. Funny enough, the Washington auctions in December. So this is in a town called Westport. So
Hmm.
Grays Harbor is the county. This is one of the first properties I bought when I moved to Vancouver. I went down to this auction and I picked up this little beach bungalow. It was 2 bedrooms and it came with a car, and I got it for $6,000 in December. Um, Obviously, you can see I fixed it up and sold it for 99. But the story goes, I bought it for $6,000, and then I just cut the grass, got rid of the car, just got rid of the trash, cleaned it up. I probably spent $2,000 cleaning it up, and then someone offered me I think it was like $28,000 for it cash, and I was like, I ain't selling it for $28,000. It's worth $50,000 all day long. And this guy just like looked at me with a funny look and said, no, I'm not paying that, and disappeared. So I was like, right, I'm going to fix it up. So I spent about 6 months to a year driving from Vancouver all the way down to Olympia every weekend to meet up with a builder to renovate it. I went through about 3 contractors, and yeah, great. At the end, it looked really nice, and I sold it in 3 days for 99,000. But guess how much I made? I made $20,000, the same amount I could have made in a month. It took me a year. A
So yeah,
year,
so
a lot of
sometimes
time and
it's good
gas.
to just take the money and run, and if
Yeah,
somebody's willing to give you cash, yeah,
yeah,
way to
definitely.
go. Yep.
I mean, definitely.
Move on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 parts of this business. There's the acquisition side, which takes the research and the time, the driving, and there's a renovation side. And sometimes, if it's a long distance property and you're really not going to keep it and you're going to flip it, it's worth to make a quick bit of money quick than it is to spend a lot of time renovating it. Because you can sell these stuff to local people and they'll fix it up, because they don't go to the tax auctions, they don't know about the auctions, don't know why, but you can sell it. You can sell it to them. So this is a prime example. So this is a building that I built in Indianapolis. This was an 8-unit apartment building in downtown Indianapolis. I went to the auction. It was a tax sale auction, and I picked it up for $32,000. Now this building I wanted to keep. At the time, I thought, you know what, we all like multifamily. I wanted to renovate and keep it. But at the time, I was struggling as a Canadian to get non-national financing. So like, if you want to keep it and fix it up and refinance it, I kept getting no's all the time. I was like, this is really hard work. So I didn't put it up for sale, but a realtor contacted me and said, oh, you own that building, do you want to sell it? And I was like, no, it's not for sale. And she said, well, everything's for sale. I said, no, I'm going to keep it, I'm going to renovate it. And she said, well, my buyer from California really wants to buy it. And I said, well, you can tell him it's not for sale. Anyway, after about, I don't know, a good about three or 4 weeks, I cut the grass and cleaned it up like this picture shows. So after about 3 weeks, it was a Monday or over the weekend, I think it was, and she said, my guy will give you, I think it was 100 grand. I said no, or 125 grand. I was like, no, I'm not selling it. He goes, well, how about $150,000 and I give it to you on Friday? And I was like, yeah, okay, it's for sale.
That's awesome. So
yeah,
you bought it
so
for
this is
30,
like one of,
resisted the money and held out, and then got $150,000 US. That's awesome.
yeah, and all I did.
Allison has a question for you.
Sure.
Do you do any of the renovations, or is it contractors all the time?
Contractors, yeah,
Yeah.
contractors. So I would go down and do inspections. Sometimes I might spend more time there, like helping out a little bit, but I don't really do the renovations. No, I pay contractors to do the work.
Yeah, project managing. So you're
Project
buying
managing,
the
yeah.
property, you're seeing there's an opportunity, you're giving lots of people lots of work, and
Yeah, that's right.
spending money on the renovations, and then flipping it and making
Yeah.
some money. Awesome.
That's it. Yeah,
Cool.
flipping it. So this was a prime example. Like the last one, I spent all that time renovating, like a year, and I made $20,000. And I could have sold it in a month and made $20,000. So this one come up, and I just completely flipped it over. Said, you know what, just to sell it, made that money and reinvested that money into more properties.
Beautiful.
So,
awesome. Very cool.
So people always ask me, so Brad, how did you learn about tax sales, and how would you recommend getting involved in it? And what I say is network at other events, like network at your event or other real estate events, and meet people that are actually buying properties and doing this business. There's a lot of people, like even dYOURfuture said, there's a lot of people out there who present themselves as trainers, but they haven't bought nothing for 10 or 15 years. They're marketing gurus. There's a particular guy that was going to come to Vancouver, and then when dYOURfuture did some research, he found the last house he bought was like 1987. So like, yeah, that's not going to work.
Okay. Yeah.
So you want to ask a trainer when the last time they purchased the property, and then what you want to do is you want to put the work in yourself. So you want to say, right, where do I want to invest? Say Washington, and then you want to call the counties direct and say to the counties, what do you do with the properties that owe you taxes? How do you dispose of them? How do you recoup your money? Ask them if there's an auction and when it is, and ask them, what payments they accept. Most states have the auctions once a year, so you need to find out if it's December, April, March. One of the things you also have got to do is obviously as a real estate investor, you have to do research. So I research like the crime in the area, the schools, the populations, what's the job like, the job's going up or they're going down. Is it a one factory town where the factory is shut down and no one's there? And you must always drive the properties before the auctions. I see it all the time, and Eric's going to come in later on and he's going to talk about it as well. I think your friend Stefan see it as well. We see people go to auctions, they get the information from the county website, they go on Google, they print everything out, and they don't drive the properties. They assume that the information on the website is correct, and they don't drive it. So what they think they're getting is a house, and what they actually end up with is a burnt down house, because there's no warranties on a government tax auction. All they're interested in is their tax revenue. They've got no interest in the property. If you buy a house with burnt timbers, that's what you end up with.
Wow. And now she's got a burnt house, and it looks like there's 2 burnt cars in the garage.
Yeah.
So now she's going to have like all massive disposal fees before she can even think about getting started. So yeah, it is really interesting. I've heard a lot of people say, yeah, we looked at it online, and yeah, well, Google might not have, they may not have been over that area for the last 5 or 6 years. So that's just not good enough. And I think that's why you doing these trips and actually going, and the December trip, the auction is in Washington in December, and you're going down earlier to look at the properties and then go to the auction. So I know you're going to tell us more about that, but that looks like a nightmare. She bought a burnt down house.
Burnt down house. And the other thing I've seen as well is where people will, this is to do the research. So when you do the research, and you have a parcel number, so I'll go into this more detail on the training, but you look at the parcel number, and then you want to go on like a mapping software, and you want to see where is that piece of land or this property for sale, because the parcel number might not match up with what the county says the address is. So I've been to an auction actually in Washington. It was actually Whatcom County a couple of years ago, and we drove down this road, and it said it was such and such property, and we got down there, and there's this cabin on the water, and it was all overgrown, and everyone assumed that cabin was in the auction, and the opening bid was like $3,000. But when we did the research, we found out it wasn't the cabin. It was a footpath between the cabin and the lake that was in the auction.
Wow. Pretty
much worthless. And these 2 guys were at the auction, and they bid up this footpath to $100,000. That must have really, really hurt.
Oh man. That's
so
awful.
and you can't take it back. Once you bought it, you bought it. There's the hammer goes down, and that's it. You're done.
Wow. God, what do you do with $100,000 footpath?
I know. That's terrible. So Allison's
got another question about grow ops. Have you come across many grow ops yet?
I haven't seen no grow ups. No, not at all.
Really?
No, nothing. No, in England I have. Not in the US. In England I've seen a few houses in the auctions. And then you look in the attic, and you can see like the silver tent and the lampshades and stuff. And you go, there's a grow up in the attic.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen nothing here yet. No.
Oh, interesting. That's really interesting. Oh.
I've seen some suspect houses before where there's some strange stuff going on in there, but not a grow ups yet.
Not a grow up yet. Okay. Very cool.
So this is a funny video. I show this quite often. So this is my friend from Toronto. Now, I was going to an auction in northern Indiana, and he'd done an online course and did a bit of training, and he did the same thing. He'd printed out all his paperwork and didn't drive the properties, and he said, I'll meet you at the auction. I'll just go for a coffee and I'll make sure I'm not bidding the same thing. And I said, well, I'm going to drive the properties first. He went, I ain't going to do that. I've got all the paperwork here. I said, no, honestly, Gordon, we need to drive the properties before you go to it. So hopefully this is going to work. Yep.
Nice. Looks good. There's nothing there?
No.
Oh, goodness. Oops. So he thought he was getting that nice house in the picture and there's nothing there.
Yeah, we drove down it and he was like, there's this number. Where's the house gone? And it was like nothing there, just a piece of grass.
Wow, which,
And
you know, land could be, you know, as you mentioned, land could be good too, but not if that's not what you were expecting, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I think he was gonna, he had a bit, he was gonna go up to like 30 grand on it, this house, because
Wow.
it was assessed about 70, and the picture
Yeah.
showed it being a really good house, and obviously
Yeah.
the picture must be 5 years old.
Wow.
Yeah,
Crazy.
so what people, so why do you prefer buying from auctions, Brad? Well, I like buying from auctions because it's fast. You've got no emotion with the person selling the property. There's no hard negotiations with the seller. If you're experienced and you go to lots of auctions, you can always pick up good deals. The entry point is much lower, like we was discussing. It's not like Vancouver, you're spending $400,000 on a property. You can pick a property up for like anywhere from a couple of $1,000s, you know, to a palm building for $30,000. So the returns are a lot higher, and it's a great way to build yourself a rental portfolio at a very low cost. Now this is Can. Can used to be one of my team members about 2 years ago. I sent him to a town in Indiana with $5,000. I said, look, just go and buy one house, this house here. It's quite a nice house. He went, okay. And then he come back and he said, oh, I bought 5 houses. And I was like, what? He said, I bought 5 houses. I said, how have you bought 5 houses? He went, I spent $1,700 and picked up 5 houses.
5 houses for $1,700.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. And that was in Indiana.
That was in Indiana, yeah. That was in Indiana. So
there's lots going on in Indiana, right? Like Indiana.
Right.
Oh, economic. So
yeah. Yeah, so he came back. He was excited. So these properties we've got here, we're looking at either selling them on seller finance, or we're going to, you know, sell them to local builders who are going to fix them up. Like we say, we're not going to fix these up. It's too far a distance for us. So we tend to just cut the grass, clean them, and then just stick them up for sale. Yeah. As they are. Couple of multifamily purchases here. One on the left and the one on the right. They're both 8 units. The one on the right, I mean, it's an 8 unit. It's opposite a park. It's in Lake County, Indiana. This is how much we picked it up for.
Don't have volume. Can you click the volume for us?
You got that? No? Is that working?
Can you guys hear that? I can't hear it, but maybe. Nope, for some reason can't hear it, but maybe that's just me.
Right. Okay.
You might have to tell us.
Okay. So basically, I was standing outside.
Once more, and let's see if we can.
All right. I can hear it on mine, but.
You can hear it on yours. Okay. Okay. I guess that's one of the technology pieces that we haven't quite figured out yet.
All right. I was just seeing. Okay, I was just seeing if there's anything I can do on my screen here, but all right. So basically, we picked this building up for it was an 8-unit apartment building. We picked it up in the tax sale for $2,000.
$2,000 for an 8-unit apartment building.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was in Lake County, Indiana. Now, how about this one? This is the gem. I've never come up with a deal like this before. This is a 10-unit, 2-bedroom apartment building in Indiana. I've got a video here, but I won't show it because I don't think, if no one can hear audio, there's no point in me showing it. But anyway, it was the same time my friend came down from Toronto, and we walked around the building. It was all boarded up, and we had a look through the windows, and we stood outside, and everyone who turned up to look at the building was saying, "What's it like?" And we're going, "Oh, don't buy it, don't go in there. It's full of asbestos. It's got lead in there. It's a mesh. You don't want to buy that." So it kind of put everyone off. Anyway, so this particular auction is a little bit different to other auctions. So every auction is very similar, but there's always a twist to it. So this auction is called a commissioner sale. So basically how this works is this is a tax lien auction. So say for instance, you know, I was saying before, people buy the tax certificates for the interest rate. So they had an auction say in January, and the opening bid, as you can see on this, if you look up in the corner, you can see the opening bid for this certificate was $24,916, and they probably paid, and it says that subject to 10%. So if someone bought that for $24,916 and the owner redeemed their property, like paid their taxes in a year, so they'd have to pay that $24,000 back plus 10%, you'd basically get 10% on your money. But what this county does is when it gets to like September, they say, do you know what? Anything that didn't sell in the January auction, we're going to put it on the chopping block and we're going to open the bids up at $50, and we're going to sell this certificate for $50 with only a couple of months left on it, and then the owner can foreclose. So we went to the auction thinking we're going to spend, you know, a fair chunk of money, maybe $24,000 to buy us a apartment building, and we got it for $50. No one bid against us on it.
Nobody bid against you.
Not one person bid.
Apartment building for $50.
Yeah. No one bid against us. We were the only bidders. Maybe we just put everyone off when we was outside, telling everyone it was full of asbestos. I don't know. But the guy was going through the auction block pretty quick, and our lot was about 11:30, and these auctions are put on by like the city workers, and I was thinking they're getting faster because they're getting their lunch break. And he basically went, this like lot number, who would give me $50? And I looked at my Scottish guy, and no one put their hand up, and put my hand up, and he went, sold. And the Scottish guy went, what the?
That's unbelievable. An apartment building for $50. So now, can you tell us a little bit more about the state of this now? Did you flip it? Is it one of those ones that the guy from California called you on and said, hey, I want to buy that for $150,000? Oh, wow, that looks great.
That's it there, yeah. So it's being renovated at the moment. I own this with Eric, who's going to come on later. So we bought this together and we've been renovating it. So we're going to actually renovate and keep it. The rents in the area are like $1,000 a month. So it makes you know, we're going to spend about anywhere between $250,000 to $300,000 renovating the whole building, and then we're going to we've got a new roof and new electrics and stuff because we're going to keep it, and we're just going to keep it as a cash cow basically.
And it's 10 units.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's you know, could be $10,000 a month cash flow, and you picked it up for, by the time your renovations are in, you're into it by maybe what, $350,000?
Probably about 300. I said, about 300,000 once it's done. Yeah.
So here, of course, in Vancouver,
you
know, to get a $10,000 a month rent, you'd probably have to spend $5 million.
I know. That's the crazy thing about it, isn't it? You go to these tax auctions and you pick up this stuff so cheap, and you go back to Vancouver and you go, why am I buying anything here for? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people will say to me, they go, why have you bought an apartment or something in Vancouver? And I'm like, why did I tie up all that capital when I can spend that money in the US and get much better cash flow, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And the people who are buying in places like Vancouver and Victoria and still in Canada, it's too far out of their comfort zone, right? So
yeah, that's right.
And Joan and I drove through. It's Elkhart, Indiana, correct?
Elkhart, Indiana, not far from South Bend. That's it. Yeah.
We drove through that, so I know there's a bunch of people on the webinar right now who who watched Joan and I drive through the snowstorm in Indiana. Oh, right. And we drove past this place in a wicked snowstorm.
Wow.
It was, but Joan was like, actually I was driving because she was too scared to drive. So it was crazy.
Oh no.
So so great deals in the U.S. It's we like it. We don't necessarily like all the politics, but for investing, there's lots of good opportunity down there.
Definitely.
So cool. All right.
Definitely.
So we've got about 15 minutes left.
Okay.
So we're still doing well. I know you've still got some great stuff to share. So keep going. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, feel free to pop those into the question box. And we'll bring Eric on in a couple of minutes as well.
So this is an example of something else you can buy. This was a little house I picked up in an auction in Arkansas. I picked it up like that on the left-hand side. I got it for $1,500 in the auction. I spent about $10,000 on it. As you can see on the right, I painted it all and stuff. And that rents for $700. So that just gives you an example of what, you know, for like $12,000 fully invested, I'm getting $700 a month cash coming in. So like 2 years time, you've got your money back. So that's just another example of some single family stuff you can buy. This was 2 retail units. This was actually next door to the office building that you see at the beginning. This was going to go into the auction. I managed to pick this up for both them units there for $7,500. I'm fixing them up at the moment. As you can see on the right, I've painted it. I'm doing the inside. They're going to rent for about $500 each, so that's going to be like $1,000 a month coming in rent. So if you don't know me out there, I'm an award-winning real estate investor. I've been featured in Aussie Jurok's Real Estate Action Book 2 and other publications in the US regarding the investing I've done in US government tax auctions. And I know a lot of people are asking, Brad, how do I get involved in this, this wonderful world of US, government tax auctions? We kind of got three options the way we work with people. One is we always look for serious joint venture partners who can joint venture with us, and we do all the legwork and all the finding the deals and project management, and when we sell the property or we rent it, we split the profit 50-50. But at the moment, we've already got like people lined up and queued up for doing that, so we're not taking anything more on at the moment. The second option we've been speaking about is we're building an opportunity investment fund. This is where poor people's money together, and we buy buildings like this 50-unit apartment building in Indiana. We recently just purchased this for we bought the lien on this for $47,000. We've got to wait 1 year on this, but we're looking to create a fund to buy stuff like that and hold it. And the third option, which I'm offering people today in the group, is do-it-yourself mentorship auction trip training. So this is where we will take people down to Washington State, and we will teach you how to actually buy real estate at US government tax auctions. So you're learning from someone who's doing this every month. We basically hang out together, have dinner together. There's Stefan. We do like pretty much a whole afternoon and an evening on training a classroom of what I've learned over the years in doing these tax auctions. The second day, we get up really early in the morning, we drive all the properties, and we get out and look at the ones we can look at. We evaluate the properties. As you rightly see, Eric and Steve there, they came to an auction and picked up that house behind them there for, I think it was $9,000. And then we attend the auction, and I show you guys what apps to use, how to do your comps and stuff like that. I wanted to show you this video, but I don't know if you've got audio or not. I'm going to play it, and if you're not, maybe Eric can talk about this when he comes on in a minute. This is a building he recently purchased at a tax auction.
Yeah, I can't hear it. Oh, nope. Let me just try something here. I can't hear it, but I don't know if anybody else can. Can anybody else hear that video, or is it just me?
Anyone hear it?
No, it doesn't. Oh, no sound. Nope. So for whatever reason, the audio isn't working. So that's one of those technical things we'll have to figure out
next time.
So Brad, you'll have to tell us about it. So we'll get you on in a sec. We just need to make sure, Eric, that you are that we can hear you, and I think, yeah, we've got you on as a panelist, so we'll get that. We'll make you a panelist in a sec, and you can tell us all about that live.
All right.
So there you go. So, tell us about this trip, Brad.
Yeah, so the trip's going to be the December the 4th to the 6th. It's a Wednesday through to Friday. We're going to teach you how to get the auction list, how to review it. We'll drive all the properties and run comps on the road and how much you should bid on. I want to let people know these are not short classroom days. These are long days. We'll be up early in the morning. They're intense training days. We're not going to be back until it's dark. And when we're back at the hotel at night time, we'll be having dinner on our laptops, looking at how much to bid on stuff. Including the training, you're going to get full support from me and my team for 60 days after the training. So you'll be able to contact us afterwards, like me, Eric, Fatima. Any questions you've got, any other auctions you're going to, we can help you out with that. You also get my ebook, which I did myself, which tells you like the truth on how to buy stuff at auctions, what's true and what's not true, and my experience in it. If you look online, there's trainers doing this in the US, and they're charging like $5,000 US for this kind of full intense mentorship training. for the WREN group, we're charging $2,995, and that's Canadian because we are Canadian. We normally limit the trip to about 10 people because it's more intimate like that, and it's on a first come first served basis. I know, Liza, you're gonna come along on the trip, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, yeah. There's another video here, but I can't play the order. But basically, this is a building I picked up. I got this building. It was a little warehouse with an office at the front. I picked this building up for $1,500. I didn't even clean it up. I done a deal with the builder who's doing some work for me on my building. I basically paid for the materials. He's renovated it, and now he's renting off me for $550 a month. So it's just kind of, he's just buying stuff like that for cash flow. And that's it, really. I thought we want to get Eric on. I'll get back to Eric's time and get Eric on. Eric, maybe we can talk about this deal that he picked up and his experience.
That's fantastic. So while I get Eric on, can you just go over or show us the slide again with the costs? So
yeah, sure.
So the WREN deal that you're offering us, which is great. Thank you very much for our WREN members. So $29.95 Canadian. And does that include the hotels?
No. So what we do it includes the we're going to hire a minibus. So what happens? Everyone will drive across the border in their own vehicle because of the and we'll meet up at like an enterprise place, and then everyone will park their cars there, and then we'll all jump in a minibus together. We're going to put on the training in a hotel room, so all you guys have just got to do is get your hotel room for the night.
Perfect.
So we're put on the minibus and the function room for the training, and obviously when we get back to the hotel and we're doing the research here. So awesome. All you guys have got to do is just get the hotel room for the night. We normally try and start hotels with the rooms are like $90 or $100 a night. We try and keep it cheap. So
you can find some really good deals, and it's in Olympia this time, correct?
It's in that area. There's we should know the next week or so. A lot of the auctions are on the same day. What I have to, Fatima will go through every auction, every county, and find out which has got the best properties for us to go and see. And then we have to pick which auction. But it's going to be in the Olympia area for sure. Yeah, around that area.
Okay. Super. All right, let's click on to make Eric presenter and see if we can hear him and he can tell us a little story. So Eric, if you can. We can't see you, but we might. We've got your screen up.
Can you see me now?
And now we can hear you. There you go. We can hear you. Perfect.
Let's try this.
Looks like lots of fun houses.
I see myself.
Yep.
I can see you. Yep.
We can see you and we can hear you, but we can also see
you can see me and hear me. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I can turn your screen.
I don't know why I'm sharing my screen, but there we go. How you guys doing?
I can turn that off. I can. Actually, hold on. You just need to stop sharing your screen. So there should be a button. There you go. We've done it.
There we go.
All right. So now it's just our three faces.
Beautiful. Well, it's a good-looking group, so I'm okay.
There you go.
So yeah, I'll just kind of start with a little bit of my background, like how I got involved with Brad. I met him about 1.5 years ago through REAG. He presented, and I've been in real estate investing for a while, and he was throwing out some numbers like you heard earlier, and kind of blew my mind. So I sat down and had a coffee with him, and followed that up a week or two later with another coffee, and I said that I'm in. I want to invest. So I actually came out as a joint venture partner. And what got me doing this business pretty much full time now is twofold. Number one, the first property that we bought was that $50 apartment building, which Brad at the time said I must be his good luck charm because that was the best deal he's ever gotten. And it's been a challenge. I mean, renovating a massive building like that is a lot of work and dealing with contractors. But we're looking at getting it for the price of renovation, which is unheard of. When people kind of ask me the numbers, like I'm a realtor here in Vancouver, I sell investment real estate. So it's like for $300,000, I could sell you a condo probably in Abbotsford that'll rent for maybe $1,500-1,600. And we're looking at a building 300,000 into it, and we've got 10 units renting for maybe average of 900 a piece, right? So I mean, those numbers just make so much sense to me. So that was the first part. And then the second part, I went on an auction training trip just like what we're offering today. And it was actually Brad testing out the market in Reno, Nevada. And so it was me and a couple other guys, and we went down with Brad to learn and train. And you know, we drove all the properties, and you know, I got the same training that we're going to offer, you know, your REN group. And by the time we got to the auction, there was one house left, and that house we had driven by, and it was a complete tear down. I think the starting bid was $30,000, and we weren't even interested in that. And it got bid up. Brad, remind me, 160,000 was it?
Yeah, everyone got excited when because their only house went to 160,000. I was like, they're crazy. Like, just go to another auction. Don't waste your money.
I mean, I still don't know why people paid that, but it was the only house, and I guess there was a lot of competition for it. But, you know, kind of adding that $50 building in with my experience at the auction and getting to know Brad, I was just like, okay, like, how can I help? And so now I'm working with Brad pretty much full time. I have some other stuff I do as well, but, you know, I'm involved with all of the properties, not just the ones that we bought together. I'm helping him with that, and fully helping with like the auction training. So, you know, if you guys do sign up and come, I'm the one that's going to be dealing with telling you which hotel to go to, where to be, what time to be there, that kind of thing. So I kind of liaise all of that stuff, and depending on how many people we have, I may or may not be driving you around, so you'll definitely see me on the trip. So that's kind of how I got involved. As for properties, I mean, we got the $50 building. The houses that he talked about were the 5 for $1,700. Those were ones I bought with Brad as well. The other house you saw for $9,000, that one we renovated and flipped. That one sold. And then that building that I was talking out front of, and you couldn't hear the video. So that one picked up, I think it was only about 3 or 4 months ago, from a deed auction, and we ended up picking that up for $11,500. It's got a 2-bedroom residential suite upstairs, and then a massive downstairs, I guess a retail, like it was actually an underground poker club for a while. So there was all kinds of tables and TVs on the walls, and it was used for that for a while. So I think we're going to split the downstairs into 2 retail units. Right now we've got contractors renovating the upstairs. They're almost done, so we should be able to start tenanting that in the next month at the most. But you know, 11,500 plus renos, it just makes a lot of sense. You just can't get that up here on this side of the border.
Fantastic. That's awesome. It's awesome. It's so cool to know that you can enter the market for, I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but for 50 bucks.
There's no lower entry point in you know, me being involved in real estate for 10 years. I've never seen anything with a lower entry point. Now, granted, the stuff that we're going for, like Brad said, is generally going to be vacant for years. It may or may not be secure. One of the things that you have to wrap your head around doing this business is it's very different than a lot of the stuff we've been trained on, where you take a spreadsheet and you run your numbers and you know your cap rates and whatever it may be. Like, you don't generally know what you've bought until you own it, because technically when we go driving these properties, we can drive by them, but we're not allowed to go even on the property, let alone go inside of them. Now, once in a while I do go inside, but I generally won't take a group of people in, because that's, you know, we're liable for that. But you know, we generally don't see the condition of the property until we actually own it, and so we don't know the numbers, right? We don't know what it looks like. We can do, you know, the research and know that we can buy it, bless you, at a certain number, and we'll still make money regardless of the condition. But it's definitely not the sort of pre-calculated, you know your exit strategy at the beginning, right? Some of them end up being a flip, or some of them we want to keep. Like, they're nicer than we thought. Some of them aren't, and you know, it's a bit of a gamble. But if you've got that, you know, sort of gamble mentality, it's a cool business.
And it's a gamble, but it's a smaller risk than the risks that many people are taking here in Canada and in, you know, the markets that I mean, in particular, we're finding that so many women are really wanting to get into the market. But yeah, trying to get into something and get started in Vancouver, Toronto, or Victoria, which is where we're growing right now, it's a challenge, right? So if you can start and learn, you know, information by fire hose and get down there and get involved in something, then, you know, maybe one day you'll have the money to invest in Canada, if that's.
I mean, we're trying to buy at 10 to 20 cents on the dollar of what we think it's valued at, and we usually kind of base that based on a bunch of different websites we use and county assessments and things like that. But we're generally not looking to spend more than probably 20 cents on the dollar of what we think it's worth, because we know it's going to need a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome. And there's enough spread in that we can make it work.
That's fantastic. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to fire away, and Brad and Eric are here for a couple more minutes, and then I'll just run through a couple of dates that are coming up, and then we'll finish up for the night.
I will add one thing that I don't think Brad mentioned, and I assume we're still offering the couples deal. So we call it the couples deal or guest deal. So the $29.95 that you pay is obviously for the mentorship. We have an option where you can bring your significant other or a JV partner, whatever it may be, for an additional $1,000. So honestly, if you look at it, it's $2,000 a piece for two of you to come. So if you do have somebody that you know that would be interested, or you want your significant other to come along and see the crazy stuff you're up to, it's a really good opportunity to come in for what I think is a pretty good value.
That's awesome.
We have lots of fun laughing at people buying stuff they shouldn't be buying.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You want to tell about Stefan's experience when everyone was buying that piece of land?
Yeah, tell us about what.
The Point Roberts one?
Yeah, last year. Yeah, Stefan went and looked at that piece of land.
We actually had I don't know if this is a story you're referring to, but we were at a Washington auction, and there was a couple of people who had been interested in training with Brad and decided not to, and then showed up at the auction, which we don't think was very good form, but they showed up. And they ended up bidding on a piece of property that is in Point Roberts, which, as most of you probably know, Point Roberts is Washington, but it's connected to Canada. So it's a good little vacation spot for Canadians. So we had looked at that piece of property. We knew that it was a little square of forest, completely contained with two other pieces of property. I don't exactly know how it became its own little piece of property, but it's just a little square in the middle of a forest, no roads, no nothing, and they bought it for a few grand, and now they have a piece of property they've got to pay taxes on that they can probably never do anything with. And that's,
they can skydive into it, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. They can hike in.
They could build a tree house in the forest.
Yeah, so I mean, it's stuff like that. I mean, some people are like, well, I don't want to spend a few $1,000s. I can figure this out on my own. Well, maybe you could, but you also might end up with a property that's completely unusable that you've spent several $1,000s on, and you could have avoided that mistake.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So it's 8 o'clock. So I'm going to pull the control back, gentlemen. Just so that I can run through a couple of quick dates with the people who are here. Where can we purchase Brad's ebook? Brad, can you answer the question about your ebook for us? Have you got it available?
I haven't really got it available yet. I did that just for the auction training trip. So if people come along the auction training trip, then they get a copy of that with some other stuff as part of the mentorship. Yeah,
as soon as you sign up, I'll email a copy to you. I mean, obviously, can't prevent you from emailing it to other people, but yeah, I mean, I email it directly to you as soon as you sign up, and I will be the person you speak to if you do want to sign up. So I know my number was mentioned there before, but we can make sure Liza emails that to you.
I'll make sure that we've got that information. And again, if there are two people who want to come down, your business partner and yourself, or your significant other, it sounds like you're offering that for $39.95.
That is correct.
That's awesome. So a lot of, as a reminder, Keyspire is a $40,000 membership. Fortune Builders is a $60,000 membership, and I don't think they're buying on auctions. So
no, we're cheap.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, we say 60 days support after. If you call us on day 62, we're not going to hang up the phone. I mean, as long as you haven't called us every day since. But
some of our students. I'll say some of our students come to our auctions. What we do later, if we go into another auction, someone's paid for the mentorship, and I say, you know what, I've got some time off in March. Can I come to an auction? We say, yeah, sure, come along. Just chip in towards the gas in the car. And I think Craig, he came and he picked up a house for $6,000, didn't he? And he came in the Washington auction last year. So
yeah, exactly.
So there we go. I've just taken control back again, and I think I've got my little screen up there. There's the Washington picture and a couple of the deals that you had advertised on your website. So thanks, gentlemen. That's great information.
Right.
Love it.
Thank you.
And you can feel free to hang around for a couple more minutes. I'm just going to go through this stuff really quickly because I know we're at 8:02. And I just want to make sure that everybody's got the dates ready that are coming up. So we'll be mentioning you guys again here. So let me just jump in here. All right, let's Okay, so I just want to say a quick thank you to Sherry. Sherry's coming on again as sponsor next year, and she's coming to Toronto with me. And if it wasn't for Sherry, we wouldn't be doing as well as we are doing right now. So I always like to say a big thank you to Sherry. And we're looking at some property with Sherry that is getting pretty exciting. So I'll tell you about that at the Victoria event that's coming up soon, and the Vancouver event. We're going to have a panel in Vancouver, so I'll share some dates with you. Just want to encourage everybody to think about the fact that we are only 2 months away from ending 2019. So as Brad's going down to auction in December, think about what you can do to create a win for yourself before the end of this year. So if there's anything we can do to help you planning that win, let us know, or share. If you've had a great win this year, share it with us so we can share that and use you as inspiration for other people. Membership, just super quickly, we are finishing off the year with $3.99. Prices are January 10th, and we've got new courses that are coming online and a whole bunch of new bonuses. And of course, including membership, you get great deals like the one that Brad is offering us. So that pretty much helps to make it worth it. And there's a few dates here that I want to run past you fairly quickly. So of course, everybody knows we've got the webinars the first and third Wednesdays. What we're going to do moving forward in the new year is we're going to do webinars on an evening, and then we're going to do a morning one. So for those of you who are morning people, we'll do the third Wednesday of the month as a morning webinar. December 3rd, we are doing a co-housing, co-investing, co-living workshop here at my place in Burnaby. A lot of people have been asking about that, so we're doing that from 4 till 7 p.m. Toronto, November 21st, it's going to be a really casual get-together, and November, it was the 27th, but we've just learned that our friends at WREN have their last event on the 27th, so we're either going to do it the 26th or 28th. We're just confirming with our panelists for that night. And we are doing a Christmas party in Victoria at Bayview 1, which is where lovely Lori Finnegan lives, and we are going to use her beautiful space for Christmas parties. That's December 19th. And of course, we get to mention Brad again. So that Washington auction trip is December 4th to 6th. Charmaine Lang's workshop is this Friday and Saturday out in Langley, and information is on the website. I'm going to be in Toronto with Sherry and Mia, who's in this picture, and a couple of other people, November 23rd. And of course, Mobile Home Park Boot Camp, Joan and I are heading down the 6th to 8th, or we may actually go the following week and do a different trip down there. So more information about that coming up. And I think that is about it. We've got Brad's reminder there. And that's it. I just wanted to run those dates past everybody. And we are at just after 5 after 8. So let's call it a night. Thank you, Brad. That was awesome.
No problem.
I can't wait to go to Washington and buy a property for a few $1,000s. And so if there's anyone interested, if you can't necessarily make the auction, but you want to present perhaps JV with me on an auction project down in Washington, we're going to have Brad down there making sure that I don't make any silly mistakes. So let me know. Yeah, that would be super fun. So if you've got any last minute questions, you can fire them up there. And as I say, it is just after 8 now, so we'll call it a night. Send me any questions if you like on text or email. Brad, thanks. That's really fun. No problem. And we will say good night. Thanks, everybody.
Night.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good night.